You wake up every morning trying to be good, trying to be kind, trying to make people comfortable, make people happy, make people like you. And somewhere deep inside, you believe that if you just keep doing that, being patient, being available, being the person who never complains, eventually the world will reward you. Eventually people will see how much you give. Eventually it will come back around. It won't. And that's the truth nobody around you is brave enough to say. Because the habits that feel the most noble, the ones that feel generous and warm and selfless, those are the exact habits quietly destroying your confidence. Slowly, invisibly, every single day. You don't feel it happening. That's what makes it dangerous. You just notice, over time, that something feels off. Like you're always tired but can't explain why. Like you're surrounded by people but somehow feel invisible. Like you work hard, you show up, you give everything, and still feel like you're shrinking. You're not imagining it, it's real. And it starts with the habits you've convinced yourself are virtues. Think about the last time someone asked you for something, a favor. Your time, your energy. Something you didn't really want to give. What did you do? You gave it anyway. And then you sat with that quiet resentment you never showed anyone. That moment, right there, that's where your confidence starts bleeding out. Not in dramatic moments, not in big failures. In the small surrenders you make every single day under the disguise of being a good person. Here's the first habit that's costing you more than you realize. You shrink yourself so other people feel comfortable. You make yourself smaller in conversations. You downplay your wins. You hesitate before speaking. You make your voice softer, your opinions lighter, your presence less, because somewhere along the way you learned that taking up space makes people uncomfortable. And you never wanted to make people uncomfortable. But here's what you traded without knowing it. Every time you made yourself small, you sent your own mind a message. You told yourself you weren't allowed to be big. You trained your nervous system to associate confidence with threat. And now, even in rooms where you should own your authority, where your knowledge and your experience demand to be heard, your first instinct is to apologize for being there. You are not helping anyone by disappearing. You are just disappearing. The second habit feels even more virtuous. You never let anyone down. You say yes when you mean no. You rearrange your entire day, your work, your rest, your peace, to accommodate someone else's request. And you call it loyalty. You call it dependability. You think this is what makes you valuable. But watch what actually happens. The more you say yes to everything, the less your yes means anything. People stop seeing your help as a gift. They start seeing it as a given. And when something is guaranteed, it loses its weight. It loses its worth. You become the person everyone counts on, but no one truly values. You become the floor everyone walks across without looking down. You were not put here to be walked across. And here's what this habit does to you internally. Every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no, you fracture something inside yourself. You create a gap between who you are and who you're performing. And confidence cannot live in that gap. Confidence lives in alignment, in the deep, quiet knowledge that your actions match your values. Every false yes widens the fracture. And over time, you stop recognizing yourself. The third habit is one you've probably never questioned because it's praised everywhere. You always put others first. Their needs before yours. Their comfort before yours. Their growth before yours. You believe that focusing on yourself is selfish. That wanting things for yourself is greedy. So you pour everything outward. Every drop. Every hour. Every ounce of attention and care. And then you wonder why you feel empty. You can't pour from empty. You've heard it 1,000 times and believed it for about 30 seconds. Then went right back to pouring. Because stopping felt selfish. Because resting felt lazy. Because taking care of yourself first felt like betraying everyone who needed you. But understand this. When you run yourself into the ground, you don't become more giving. You become bitter. You become resentful. You become the person who gives, and then one day explodes because no one ever asked if you were okay. The people around you don't get a better version of you when you sacrifice everything. They get a depleted, hollow, exhausted version who secretly resents them for accepting what you freely offered. The most powerful thing you can do for everyone in your life is become someone who takes care of themselves first. Not as an act of selfishness, as an act of integrity. The fourth habit is subtle. You take responsibility for how other people feel. When someone is upset, You feel like it's your job to fix it. When someone is uncomfortable, you scan the room and figure out what you can adjust, what you can change about yourself to ease their tension. You absorb other people's emotional states like a sponge. Their anxiety becomes your anxiety. Their bad day becomes your bad day. Their unspoken disappointment becomes the thing you replay in your head at 2 in the morning. You are not responsible for other people's emotional experience. Read that again. You are not responsible for how other people feel. You can be kind, you can be considerate, but you cannot control another person's internal world. And every time you try, you exhaust yourself chasing something that was never yours to manage. Confident people understand this boundary clearly. They care about others without carrying others. They respond without absorbing. They help without dissolving. And that boundary, that clean, firm, compassionate line, that's not coldness. That's wisdom. The fifth habit is the one nobody talks about. You seek peace at any price. You avoid conflict at all costs. When someone says something wrong about you, you stay quiet. When a boundary gets crossed, you let it slide. When you should speak, you swallow the words and smile. Because you value harmony more than honesty. Because you were taught that keeping the peace is the kind thing to do. But peace without truth isn't peace. It's suppression. And suppression doesn't disappear. It accumulates. It builds under the surface like pressure with nowhere to go. And what it does to your confidence is devastating. Because every time you silence yourself to keep someone else comfortable, you send yourself the message that your truth doesn't matter, that your experience isn't valid, that your voice is less important than the ease of people who weren't even considering yours. Confidence is not about being loud. It's not about being aggressive or cold or difficult. It is simply about knowing your truth and being willing to stand in it, even when it costs something, even when someone shifts uncomfortably, even when the room gets quiet. The people who changed their lives, who built something real, who became someone they actually respected, they weren't the people who pleased everyone around them. They were the people who stopped performing and started living. They were the people who got tired of the version of themselves they'd been presenting and decided to meet the version they'd been hiding. That version of you still exists. Underneath all the yeses and the apologies and the shrinking and the overgiving, there is someone in there who knows exactly what they want, exactly what they're worth, and exactly what they're capable of. But you have to stop protecting everyone else from that person. This is the moment. Not tomorrow. Not when things settle down. Not after you've made everyone comfortable and handled every obligation and earned enough permission from enough people who were never going to give it. Now, start with one habit. One moment. One time you choose yourself without explaining why. One boundary you hold without apologizing for it. One truth you say out loud instead of swallowing in silence. Because here's what happens when you stop hiding inside your own goodness. When you stop using kindness as a way to avoid being seen. When you finally let yourself take up the space you were given. People don't lose respect for you. They find it. For the first time. And more importantly, you find it for yourself. That's not selfishness. That's the beginning of everything.